evening, sir, and very good evening to all the participants. I, Dr. Krishna Ainanivar, Assistant Professor, Pune Business School, which is an integral part of the Pimpri Chinchwad Education Trust, take this opportunity to welcome you all for today's session, that is how to comply with the requirements of corporate social responsibility as per section 135 by CA Pramod Jain, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Krishna. Today we are on 28th day of our webinar series 30 days, 30 topics, 30 programs. How the time flies is really something I always wonder. It looks like that is just yesterday that we started this series. And I was just thinking when I started this series of 30 programs, 30 days, 30 topics, as to how will it take to finish 30 sessions. And it looks like these 30 days have passed just in a jiffy. And friends, I am very happy to share with all of you that I have thoroughly enjoyed sharing different topics, different programs for all these 27 days. And now we are on 28th days. We have 2 more days to go before we finish the 30 programs. Yesterday, we had a discussion on corporate governance and business ethics. We discussed as to how compliance with corporate governance and business ethics is in the long-term interest of the entire humanity. Today, our topic is how to comply with the requirements of corporate social responsibility as per section 135. So in a way, friends, if you really look at it, I'm sure you can see the connect between what we discussed yesterday and the topic that we have today, corporate social responsibility as per section 135 of the Companies Act. The agenda that we have for this program today, what we're going to cover is number one, we will look at what is the meaning of responsibility. What are the obligations of corporates under section 135 of the corporate social responsibility, section 135 on corporate social responsibility, CSR, under the Companies Act 2013. After discussing the obligations, we will look at which are the companies to which section 135 of the Companies Act is applicable. Is it applicable to all the companies, or is it applicable to certain companies? If it is applicable to certain companies, which are those certain companies? Section 135 talks about the net profit, and section 135 talks in terms of spending by the corporates, 2% of the average net profit of last 3 years. So we also would look at and understand as to which net profit is to be considered for determining applicability of section 135. I can tell you at this point in time, because there are two profits in the context of section 135. One is the profit which is computed as per the financial reporting requirements, and the other profit which is computed as per section 198. So as far as the applicability of section 135 to a company is concerned, which of these two profits are to be taken into account? Because based on my interaction with the fellow professionals, I understand there is a confusion in the minds of some of the friends as to which profit is to be considered for the purpose of determining applicability of section 135 itself. So this is what we would discuss. How many members should be there in the CSRC, which is Corporate Social Responsibility Committee? कितने member होने चाहिए और किस situation में ये member कम हो सकते हैं? What are the obligations of CSRC? So CSRC plays a very important role. So when I say CSRC, it is Corporate Social Responsibility Committee, appointed by the board of directors of a company to which section 135 is applicable. This company will have to have certain number of members, and this company has definite obligations, and that is the reason why this committee is appointed. So what are the obligations of the corporate social responsibility committee? That is what we will discuss. Obligations of the board under section 135. So appointing the CSRC is one thing, but then besides appointing CSRC, the board of directors of a company have few other obligations also. What those obligations are, that is what we will be discussing. How much of the profits are to be spent every year on CSR activities? Now we all know it is 2%, 2% of the average net profit computed as per section 198. So that question of course is answered upfront, but we will discuss the intricacies of this net profit under section 198. Which of the profits are to be considered for this purpose? That is what we would cover. And then, friends, I have had a separate session which is available on the YouTube channel. As days on day 16 of the series, we had a separate exclusive session on how to compute net profit as per section 198. So those of you who would be interested to know more about the entire process of computing net profit as per section 198 can visit my YouTube channel. And this particular session is titled as Day 16, Computation of Net Profit under Section 198. So you can visit to get more details about computation of net profit as per Section 198. We will understand the meaning, significance, and rationale behind computation of profit as per Section 198. तो दोस्तों मेरा ऐसा एक्सपीरियंस है कि एक बार हमें किसी चीज का लॉजिक समझ में आ जाए, उसका ऑब्जेक्टिव समझ में आ जाए, उसका रैशनल समझ में आ जाए, तो वो हमें सारा पूरा कंसेप्ट समझने में बड़ी आसानी हो जाती है. तो though I have discussed the entire section 198 by way of a separate session, today we will spend a few minutes in understanding the rationale behind the section 198, because section 198 is not only applicable in case of section 135, but it is also applicable in case of section 197. So therefore, I'm sure that it would be useful for you for both these purposes. That is what we would cover. We will also get clarity about various provisions of section 198 in computation of net profit. तो जो section 198 के जो clauses हैं और उन clauses का क्या meaning है, how are those to be interpreted, that is what we would look at. And then a $1,000,000 question which everyone concerned with computation of computation of net profit as per section 198 is where do I start from? So मुझे मेरी कंपनी के net profit compute करने हैं as per section 198. So what should be my starting point? Do I start from EBITDA? Do I start from gross profit? Do I start from sale? Can I start from PBT? Can I start from net profit? So all those questions and doubts we would be answering as we intend to answer, and we would rather be answering as part of this session. Then the question is, fine, 2% of the average net profits are to be spent on these CSR activities, but we also need to understand which are those CSR activities. And because there is a Schedule 7 in the Companies Act, and this Schedule 7 in the Companies Act includes all the headings, all the activities on which a company can spend this 2% average net profit to be compliant with section 135. So we would look at as to which are those items, which are those activities where a corporate can spend its CSR fund. Then of course we would look at how to treat the unspent amount on CSR activities. So remember, it is possible that a company has a profit as per section 198, and therefore company has an obligation to spend money on CSR activities, but it is quite possible for some reason or the other this company may not have been able to spend the entire money or part of the money or not at all on the specified activities. Now what are the obligations in case of such a situation of the company concerned? That is what we would look at. And of course remember, so in case if you fail to comply with the provision of the law, then you have incidental obligations. And if you fail to comply with the incidental obligations also, then what you have, then you have penal provisions. So in case if a company fails to spend money as per section 135 on the CSR activities, then it has to ensure that that money is transferred to a separate account within a period of 30 days from the time when it was supposed to have spent. If it does not spend that money in next 3 years, then this amount has to be transferred to a fund which is specified in Schedule 7. If that is also not done, then there are penal provisions not only for the company but also for the officer concerned of the company. So which are those penal provisions that the corporates and the people responsible for the compliance with Section 135 requirements need to be aware of, and that is what we would discuss for their benefit. So friends, this is the agenda that we have for today. And finally, of course, it is possible that in one case uh, where even though Section 135 is applicable to a company, but because of the size of the net profit or because of the size of money to be spent is less than 50 lakhs, in that case this company need not need not constitute a CSR committee, but the job will have to be done by the board of directors. So that is what we would understand in case if the net profits to be spent by a company is less than 50 lakhs. So that in that case, this company does not have to constitute CSRC. The board of directors itself can handle the job of the CSRC. So that is to simplification. So friends, this is the agenda that we have today, and who will benefit from this program? Number one, all the accounting, finance, and corporate professionals working in different companies who generally have the responsibility of compliance with various rules and regulations under different statutes will benefit from today's session. Board members, more so who are member on the CSRCs of some company or the other, they will also definitely benefit because they will have a direct understanding as the member on the CSR committee of a company, what are their obligations, and of they better be aware of their obligations as member of a CSRC. NGOs looking for CSR funds from corporates for financing their charitable and social activities for the communities at large will also benefit from this session, because then they will come to know as to if they have to approach a corporate for getting the funds for getting the CSR funds from those companies, from those corporates, so as to carry out the social and charitable activities of these NGOs, which are in line with the activities specified in Schedule 7. So it will also benefit such NGOs. Management and corporate advisors engaged in providing consultancy and advisory services in the field of corporate compliance, governance, and business ethics will stand to gain. All businessmen, members of top management teams of all businesses who in any case have the ultimate responsibility to comply with the rules and regulations related who have the ultimate responsibility to comply with the rules and regulations related with corporate compliance, governance, and business ethics. They also will stand to gain. Practicing chartered accountants, cost accountants, company secretaries, lawyers, and other finance and accounting professionals, so as to be able to advise their clients, so as to ensure that those clients are fully in compliance with the obligations specified under Section 135 of the Companies Act. All the government agencies and departments interested in compliance by the corporates with the corporate governance, business ethics, and CSR related rules and regulations will also stand to gain. And finally, friends, of course, all students of CA, CS, CMA, MBA, CIMA, ACCA, CPA, and all other professional courses will also stand to gain, because they will get to know much in advance as to what are the obligations which a corporate is required to fulfill as far as Section 135 of the Companies Act is concerned. So with this agenda and the people who would stand to gain from this session, let us start. What is the meaning of corporate social responsibility? Now, really speaking, it's very difficult to find a specific definition of the corporate social responsibility. लेकिन अगर हम इसको simple words में अगर explain करें, तो इसका ये मतलब होगा, corporate social responsibility would simply mean that the corporates have a responsibility towards the society, and they need to fulfill this responsibility, and this is corporate social responsibility. And which means what? Which means ultimately it boils down to the fundamental issue, and the fundamental issue is, what is purpose of a business? Purpose of a business is to create value by making ethical profits, or to make ethical profits by creating value, and having created the value, what they have to do, they have to use such value creation for helping the economy and communities at large, is CSR in real sense of it. So this is, friends, is social, is corporate social responsibility, कि जो कंपनियां हैं, जो बिजनेसेस हैं हिंदुस्तान में, उनकी समाज के प्रति जिम्मेदारी है। और समाज के प्रति क्या जिम्मेदारी है? समाज के प्रति ये जिम्मेदारी है कि वो जो प्रॉफिट कमाते हैं, दैट प्रॉफिट should not be used only for distributing to the shareholders. That profit should also be shared or should also be used for carrying out the social activities which are for the benefit of social societies at large. And there are, of course, Schedule 7 gives list of all such activities that would be eligible for the purpose of spending money by the corporates on the CSR activities. So this, friends, is a simple simple definition of corporate social responsibility and CSR. Obligations of corporates under Section 135. So what are the obligations? I think that we need to be aware. And the first obligation that the companies have under Section 135, and that obligation is a company to which Section 135 is applicable, this company has to form a CSR committee. That is the obligation number one. Obligation number two, spending 2% of the average net profits of last 3 years is obligation number two. यानी कि एक कंपनी जिसको कि section 135 applicable है, and we will understand as we go forward as to which are the cases when section 135 becomes applicable. So a company to which section 135 is applicable, the board of directors or the companies or such companies have an obligation, and obligation number one is formation of CSR committee. That means such companies have to form a CSR committee. What that CSR committee would constitute of, we would discuss. Then this company also has to spend 2% of the average net profits of last 3 years on the CSR activities, as I said, which are specified in the Schedule 7 of the Companies Act. Then there is a responsibility that these companies need to disclose the CSR policy, and the committee which has been formed for the committee which is formed for carrying out the CSR activities, all these informations need to be disclosed in the director's report. Not only these need to be disclosed in the director's report by these companies, but even in case if a company which is supposed to spend money on CSR activities for some reason or the other has not been able to do so, then such company will also need to disclose in the director's report as to the amount which this company has failed to spend on the CSR activities in a given financial year and reason for the same. So these are the obligations that these corporates have to whom section 135 is applicable. And of course, finally, the handling of unspent amounts. As I said a little while ago, a company has an obligation when section 135 becomes applicable to spend money on CSR activities. If the money is not spent on the CSR activities, make a disclosure in the director's reports, give the reason as to why it has not been done. Not only that, within 1 month from the time, by the time which this money should have been spent, ये पैसे को आप एक अलग से अकाउंट, बैंक अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर करेंगे, because you cannot use this money for the purpose of the business. So this money has to be put into a separate account of the company. The money will remain with the company, and but this money cannot be used for the purpose of the business activities. And within 3 years, if this money is not used for the specified activities as per Schedule 7, in that case, this money will need to be transferred to a specified fund as mentioned in the Schedule 7. So these are the obligations, friends, that we need to be aware as professional, as stakeholders, as people interested in one way or the other as far as compliance of Section 135 is concerned. Now, the question is, which are the company to which Section 135 becomes applicable? So every company having net worth of rupees 500 crore or more, or a company having a turnover of rupees 1000 crore or more, or a company having a net profit of rupees 5 crore or more during the immediately preceding financial year. So any company to which any of these three situations are applicable, any of these three clauses are applicable, to that company, Section 135 becomes applicable. So which are the three clauses? Number one, if the net worth is more than 500 crore, if the net worth is 500 crore or more, if the turnover of the company is 1000 crore or more, or if the net profit of the company is 5 crore or more. If either of these three conditions are met, in that case, provisions of Section 135 would become applicable to such a company. And when the provisions of Section 135 becomes applicable to such a company, then the first obligation that this company will have is to form the CSRC. CSRC is Corporate Social Responsibility Committee. Now, the question that can come to your mind, friends, when we are discussing here in the third clause, net profit of rupees 5 crore or more. Now, this is a doubt which many people have in their mind as to, for the purpose of determining applicability of Section 135 to a company, the third requirement is a net profit of rupees 5 crore or more. So people have a doubt in their mind as to which is this profit. Is this net profit is as given in the financial books of the company, or it is the profit which is computed as per Section 198. Now, in this case, friends, I would like to clarify very affirmatively that as far as applicability of Section 135 is concerned, the net profit that has to be taken into account is not the one which is computed as per Section 198. It is the net profit which is appearing in the financial statements of the company, which are prepared for the purpose of financial reporting. And this is absolutely clear. And why this is absolutely clear, friends? Because the Section 198 is for a specific purpose. And what is the specific purpose? The specific purpose of Section 198 as regards Section 135 is concerned is to determine the net profit of the company for ascertaining the 2% average money to be spent by the company on the CSR activities. So Section 198 has a limited and a specific purpose, and therefore, as far as applicability of Section 135 is concerned, the net profit which is to be taken into account is as given in the financial statements of the company, be prepared for the purpose of financial reporting. So three clauses. Clause number one, net worth more than 500 crore or more as at the end of previous financial year, or turnover of 1000 crore or more, and or net profit as per the financial reporting as at the end of the last financial year. So in case of any of these clauses apply to a company, that means for that company Section 135 becomes applicable. How many members should be there in a CSR committee? So as per Section 135, CSRC will consist of 3 or more directors, out of which at least one director shall be an independent director. So the requirement as given in Section 135 is कि एक company जिसको कि Section 135 applicable है, और ये company, this company will have to form a CSR committee which will have at least 3 or more directors, and at least one of them will be an independent director. Independent director as per Section 149 of the Companies Act. However, where a company is not required to appoint an independent director, under subsection 4 of Section 149, it shall have in its Corporate Social Responsibility Committee 2 or more directors. So it is possible that the requirement of independent director is not applicable in case of all the companies. So in case if the requirement of independent director is not applicable in case of a particular company, in that case this company does not have to have 3 or more directors. This company can have 2 or more directors, and obviously in that case, since there is no requirement of independent directors in case of this company, therefore the CSRC, the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee of such a company, will not have an independent director. Now, let us understand the requirement of section 149 subsection 4 as regards to the requirement of appointment of an independent director. And this is what, friends, we need to minutely understand. Every listed company, so section 4, subsection 4 of section 149 talks about every listed public company shall have at least one third of the total number of directors as independent director. So as far as listed company is concerned, the requirement is clearly specified under the Companies Act that every company which is listed on the stock market, this company will have one third of his directors, at least one third of his directors who are independent directors. And the central government may prescribe the minimum number of independent directors in case of any class or classes of public companies. So now we need to also look at as to what is the provision regarding appointment of independent director in case of a public company. So remember, it is quite obvious that as far as public limited, private limited companies are concerned, there is no requirement of appointment of independent director. Requirement of independent director is only in case of listed companies, and it is also there in case of public companies where the central government specifies the parameters when requirement of independent director becomes applicable in case of a in case of a public company which is not a listed company. So what is the current requirement as far as applicability of independent director in case of unlisted companies are concerned? So today the requirement is there will be a minimum of 2 independent directors in case of a public company which is not a listed company. So there is a requirement of appointment of minimum 2 independent directors in case of a company which is public company but not listed. But this requirement becomes applicable when? This requirement becomes applicable when the paid up capital of company is rupees 10 crore or more, number one, or turnover of the company is rupees 100 crore or more. Number three, aggregate of outstanding loan, debentures and deposits exceeding rupees 50 crore or more. So remember again, only in case if any of these three conditions are applicable in case of a public company which is not a listed company, that means company's paid up capital is 10 crores or more, or the company's turnover is 100 crore or more, or the company's aggregate outstanding loans, debentures and deposits are exceeding rupees 50 crore or more. यानी कि ये तीनों में से अगर एक भी सिचुएशन एक्सीड होती है, एक भी अगर कंडीशन वायलेट होती है, वायलेट यानी कि एक भी कंडीशन अगर इसमें से फुलफिल होती है, so that means in such case this public company which is not a listed company will need to have independent director. And that means what? That means in case to this company, if section 135 becomes applicable, in that case, this company, even though it's not a listed company, since 135 has become applicable, this company will have to form a CSRC, and that CSRC will have minimum 3 members, and one of those members will be an independent director. So this is the friends requirements as far as formation of CRC is concerned. Now, what are the obligations of CSRC? So CSRC, the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee, इसकी जिम्मेदारियां क्या हैं, इसको क्या काम क्या करना होता है? So number one, the first task of the CSRC is to formulate and recommend to the board a CSR policy which shall indicate the activities to be undertaken by the company in areas or subject specified in Schedule 7. So one thing is, friends, very clear that as far as compliance with Section 135 is concerned, as far as spending of CSR funds is concerned, those funds have to be spent only on the activities which are specified in Schedule 7 of the Companies Act. Any CSR fund spent anywhere else other than the activities mentioned in CSR in Schedule 7 will not be considered in compliance with with the provisions of the section 135. So the first obligation of the CSRC is to formulate and recommend to the board a social corporate responsibility policy. Number two, recommend the amount of expenditure to be incurred on the activities referred to in clause A. So the CSR committee will also tell as to how much money is to be spent in which of these activities. So remember, as far as how much total money is to be spent will be determined by section 198 and depending on the profit computed as per section 198. But where that money should be spent, that will be recommended by the CSR committee, and that is the obligation of CSR committee. And the third obligation of CSR committee is to monitor and to monitor the corporate social responsibility policy of the company from time to time. And remember, it's the responsibility of the board of directors that this CSR policy is also shared in the board of directors report. It is also uploaded on the website of the company and things like that, so as to create awareness about the CSR obligations of the company and how the company is fulfilling those obligations. Now, friends, look at the obligations of the board under section 135. So we have seen the obligations of the company as a whole. We have seen the obligations of the CSRC. Now let us look at the obligations of the board of directors of a company to which section 135 has become applicable. So the board's report under subsection 3 of section 134 shall disclose the composition of the corporate social responsibility committee, that is number one. So every time a board of directors report is being prepared for on completion of the financial year, that report will have the disclosure about the composition of the CSRC. Number two, after taking into account the recommendations made by the CSRC, approve, this is the obligations of the board, approve the CSR policy for the company and disclose contents of such policy in its report, and also place it on company's website, if any, in such manner as may be prescribed by the government. Number two, ensure that the activities as are included in CSR policy of the company are undertaken by the company. So these are the obligations, friends, as far as the board of directors of a company is concerned, to which section 135 has become applicable. Now, how much of the profit are to be spent every year on CSR activities? We have discussed this already, friends, and that is at least 2% of the average net profits of the company made during the 3 immediately preceding financial years. So it is the average net profit, 2% of the average of last 3 financial years. That is the amount which has to be spent in a financial year on the CSR activities to be in compliance with section 135. Now here, company has to give a preference to the local area and areas around it. So it's not that the amount which is to be spent on the CSR, the board of directors or any particular board member can decide as to where at his choice he would spend those money. No, the preference has to be given in spending this money in the local area where the company is situated, or areas which are around that company. So that is how it should be. Provided further that if the company fails to spend such amount, the board shall in its report under clause O of subsection 3 of section 134 shall specify the reasons for not spending the amount. As I was saying in the beginning of this session, that in case if a company fails to spend the money as per section 135, in that case, the board of directors will have to disclose the reason for not doing so in their report, which they have to present to the shareholders. Which of the profits are to be considered for this purpose? So again, same question कि वो जो 2% एवरेज कैलकुलेट करना है, तो वो एवरेज किस नेट प्रॉफिट का होगा? Is it the net profit calculated in accordance with the provisions of section 198? And that is the answer. That is the correct answer. That means this net profit, which is to be considered for the purpose of determining as to how much money is to be spent on the CSR activities, the profit which is given in the books is not to be taken into account. The net profit is not to be taken into account. The PBT is not to be taken into account. The gross profit is not to be taken into account. What is to be taken into account is a profit which is calculated separately as per the provisions of section 198. So that means what? That means what? That means the entire calculation of profit for the purpose of section 135 has to be done again, and which has to be as per the provisions of section 198. Let's friends understand the meaning and significance and rationale behind computation of profit as per section 198. तो जैसा कि मैं आप से शुरू में कह रहा था कि देखिए हम कोई भी चीज डिस्कस करें और कोई खास तौर से अगर कोई लीगल पॉइंट अगर हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं तो अगर हम उसके उसके क्रक्स को पकड़ लें, उसके रैशनल को पकड़ लें, तो फिर हमारे लिए बाकी सारा प्रोसेस आसान हो जाता है कि क्यों व्हाई द लॉ मेकर्स thought of putting a separate section 198 for the purpose of section 197 and also for the purpose of section 135. Why did they not say, okay, net profit jo company calculate karegi for the purpose of financial reporting, the same profit is to be considered for the purpose of section 197 and for section 135. So there is a reason as to why they did not do it. And the reason is, remember, the profit which is computed for the purpose of financial reporting will not only have the income which is coming from the operations, but it will also have the income which may be getting added on account of the non-operating activities. And what are the non-operating activities? Say, for example, sale of an asset. So if a company is selling an asset and earning a profit, now remember this profit which the company is earning from the sale of the profit is not the operational profit of the company, and therefore it would be incorrect to include this profit for the purpose of section 197 and for the purpose of section 135. And that is the rationale behind section 198. So section 198 does what? Section 198 filters all such profits which are not accruing from the regular operations of the business. So section 198 virtually takes into account only those profits which are coming from the routine operations of the business, and it is on those profits the maximum managerial remuneration amount is fixed, which is 11%. It is on the same profit 2% is fixed, which is the amount required to be spent on CSR activities as per section 135. So now what is the rationale? The rationale is it is actually the section 198 profit, net profit as per section 198. What is the rationale? The rationale is it is actually to arrive at profits earned during the year from the operations of the entity, operations from the entity. Please highlight, I'm highlighting it, operations of the entity, and exclude all non-operational items of income and expenses, as these cannot be credited to the management of the company for the purpose of computation of net profit for determining managerial remuneration ceiling as required under section 197. तो देखिए 197 क्या करती है? 197 fixes upper ceiling, maximum ceiling of the remuneration which can be paid to the managerial personnel of a company. So obviously अगर 11% की लिमिट, 11% की जो अमाउंट है वो डिटरमिन करनी है, तो ये 11% की अमाउंट किस प्रॉफिट से कनेक्टेड होगी? ये 11% की अमाउंट उस प्रॉफिट से कनेक्टेड होगी जिस प्रॉफिट को मैनेजर जो टीम है उन्होंने कमाया. And what they have earned, what the managerial team has earned is the profit that they have generated from the operations. And therefore, the 11% is to be not with the profit as appearing in the books. It is linked with the profit which is earned from the operations. And that is the rationale behind section 198. And if you understand this, then computation of profit under section 198 becomes absolutely clear, no ambiguity whatsoever. And the same logic is applicable for the section 135. Why? Because the net profit computed under section 198 is same for section 197 and same for section 135. So it is the same net profit which is computed as per section 198 is to be used for determining the maximum ceiling of managerial remuneration and also for determining the 2% average net profit to be spent on CSR activities. So friends, this is the rationale behind computation of profit as per section 198. Now let me also share with you some clarity about provisions of section 198 in computation of net profit. तो उसमें देखिए section 198 subsection 1 clause A, credit shall be given for the sums specified in subsection 2. So subsection 2 of section 198 talks about of the amounts that will need to be considered as income for the purpose of deriving net profit as per section 198, and that is your section 198 subsection A. It very clearly brings out. And what are those? Those are bounties and the grants that are available from the government to the corporate. And remember here, so which of the grants or the bounties will need to be included as part of the income for computation of net profit as per section 198 are only the ones which are revenue in nature and not capital in nature. If it is capital in nature, then it will not be included as part of the net profit under section 198. But if it is revenue in nature, then of course it will be included. Then you got section 198 subsection 1A, and that further says credit shall not be given for those specified in subsection 3. So there are certain incomes, and remember, if you read them, you will realize that these income which are given in subsection 3 of section 198 are the income which are non-routine in nature, which are not operational income, which are capital income, and therefore these incomes are not to be included for the purpose of section 198. And then you have section 198 1B, and that talks about the sums specified in subsection 4 shall be deducted. यानी कि जो subsection 4 है of section 198, what does it say? It says that all the expenses which are to be deducted while computing net profit as per section 198 are specified in subsection 4, and likewise in case of subsection 5 of section 198, it specifies the items that shall not be deducted. That means expenses that will not be deducted in computation of the net profit as per section 198. So friends, remember the rationale. And if you remember the rationale, remember the aim and objective behind inserting section 198 in the Companies Act. And I'm sure computation of net profit as per section 198 will never be a challenge for you. Where should I start from for my computation of net profit? So this is the question that everyone has in their mind when they're computing. And remember, this is one exercise all the people in the finance department, accounts department, legal department, company secretary department have to worry about, because they have to compute the net profit as per section 198. So this is the question that I'm always confronted from the fellow professionals and asking as to where do they start? कहाँ से शुरू करें जब उनको सेक्शन 198 का प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट करना है? So remember, firstly, let's be clear that PBT arrived at following the accounting gap is not the profit under section 198. I have made it very clear earlier, and I'm making it clear once again that the PBT, the profit before tax, computed as per the accounting gap, is not the PBT, is not the profit which is as per section 198. Profit as per the gap and as per section 198 are highly unlikely to be same in most cases. तो दुनिया, मेरे ख्याल से हिंदुस्तान में शायद ही ऐसा हो गया, ऐसा इम्पॉसिबल है, पर वर्चुअली इम्पॉसिबल है कि एक कंपनी के का जो पीबीटी है, जो प्रॉफिट है एज प्रॉफिट एज पर द गैप एंड प्रॉफिट एज पर सेक्शन 198 is identical, is just impossible, because there are so many variables, and therefore we have to remember that the profit arrived using the Indian gap is always will never be same as the profit arrived using section 198, because there are so many variables, nothing else. Computation of profit under section 198 will need to be done separately. Starting point can be the trial balance itself. यानी कि अगर आपको एक कंपनी का सेक्शन 198 का प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट करना है तो आप कहां से शुरू कर सकते हैं? You can start from the trial balance itself. Start from the trial balance itself. Take into account the provisions of section 198 1AB and subsection 2, 3, 4, and 5. Take them into account, and then you would be able to arrive the profit as per section 198. So your starting point can be the ट्रायल बैलेंस इटसेल्फ, यानी कि डायरेक्टली आप ट्रायल बैलेंस से सेक्शन 198 का प्रॉफिट कंप्यूट कर सकते हैं. अगर आप ऐसा नहीं कर सकते, नहीं करते, इन केस इफ यू डोंट यूज द ट्रायल बैलेंस, you can of course start with the PBT also, but if you start with the PBT, you will have to make the adjustments as per the provisions of section 198 1A 1B subsection 2 3 4 and 5. तो उसमें जो एडजस्टमेंट स्पेसिफाई किए हैं, वो एडजस्टमेंट अगर आप पीबीटी को करते हैं तो you will arrive at. Likewise, you can also start. So it is not that you start only from PBT. You can start from the gross profit. You can start from EBITDA. You can start from EBIT. You can start from any of the figure. And the only thing is the nature of adjustment that you will make, the number of adjustments that you will make will undergo a change and nothing else. We just need to take care of provisions of section 198, 1A and 1B, and also 2, 3, 4, and 5. In any case, please remember, whether you start with the trial balance, whether you start from PBT or EBITDA or EBIT or gross profit or sales, आप कहीं से भी शुरू करिए. अगर आप सेक्शन 198 की जो एडजस्टमेंट्स हैं, जो उसके प्रोविजंस हैं, उसको पूरी तरह से फुलफिल करते हैं, तो आप कोई सा भी मेथड, कोई सा भी स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट लीजिए, योर प्रॉफिट एज पर योर नेट प्रॉफिट एज पर सेक्शन 198 विल बी द सेम. इट कैन नॉट बी डिफरेंट. इट हैज टू बी एग्जैक्टली द सेम. 1 रुपए का भी फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा अगर आप सेक्शन 198 के जो प्रोविजंस हैं उसको पूरी तरह से कंप्लाई करते हैं, irrespective of the method, irrespective of your starting point. Now the question is, where can these 2% profit, the 2% of the average net profits of last 3 financial years can be spent? So there is a schedule 7 that guides us as to where this 2% of the profit can be spent. So number one, it can be spent on eradicating, it can be spent on the activities relating to eradication of hunger, poverty, and malnutrition. It can be spent on promoting education, including special education and employment, enhancing vocational skills. It can be spent on promoting gender equality, empowering women, setting up homes and hostels for women and orphans. It can be spent on ensuring environmental sustainability, ecological balance, protection of flora and fauna, animal welfare. It can be spent on protection of national heritage and culture, including restoration of buildings. It can be spent on activities pertaining to measures for the benefit of armed forces, veterans, war widows, and their dependents. This 2% net profit CSR fund can be spent on training to promote rural sports, nationally recognized sport, Paralympics sports, and Olympic sports. It can also be spent on contribution to the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund or Prime Minister's Citizen Assistance and Relief in Emergency Situation Fund, that is PM CARES Fund. It can also be spent on contribution to incubators or research and development projects in the field of science. It can be spent on contribution to public funded universities, Indian Institute of Technologies. It can be spent on rural development projects, slum area development, and it can also be spent on disaster management, including relief, rehabilitation, and reconstruction activities. So friends, these are the 12 different broad categories that I've spoken with you, on which the corporates can spend these 2% net profit, which they have computed, taking into account the average net profit of last 3 years based on section 198. So this is where the money can be spent. How to treat unspent amount on CSR activities. So remember, this is a very important obligation in case of a company. So if a company has not been able to spend the money or the CSR money on the activities, then what it can do. So any amount remaining unspent on any ongoing project fulfilling such conditions undertaken by a company shall be transferred by the company within a period of 30 days from the end of the financial year to a special account to be opened by the company in that behalf for that financial year in any scheduled bank to be called as the unspent corporate social responsibility account of so and so company, and such amount shall be spent by the company in pursuance of its obligations towards the corporate social responsibility policy of the company within a period of 3 financial years from the date of such transfer. So that is obligation number 1. यानी कि जो पैसा आप उस साल में खत्म नहीं कर पाए, वो साल के खत्म होने के 30 दिन के अंदर वो पैसा आपको एक नए बैंक अकाउंट में डालना है, और वो बैंक अकाउंट में से ये पैसा 3 साल के अंदर आपने खर्च करना चाहिए as per the CSR policy of your business. Failing which the company shall transfer. अभी आपने ऐसा भी नहीं किया, 3 साल हो गए और 3 साल में भी आपने वो पैसा नहीं spend किया on the CSR activities, then what is the option you have? Then the option that you have is to transfer the same to a fund specified in Schedule 7 within a period of 30 days from the date of completion of the third financial year. So जैसे ही वो तीसरा साल खत्म होता है, फाइनेंशियल खत्म होता है, तीसरे फाइनेंशियल ईयर के खत्म होने के 30 दिन के अंदर वो जो पैसा है वो आपको शेड्यूल 7 में स्पेसिफाइड जो फंड्स हैं उन फंड्स के में ट्रांसफर करना होगा. दैट मींस नाउ दिस मनी विल नॉट रिमेन विद यू एज अ कंपनी. दिस मनी you will have to part this money completely and put it into a fund which is specified in Schedule 7 of the Companies Act. Now, what if you don't do? If you don't spend the money, number 1, and then you don't spend the money in 3 hours, number 2, and number 3, you don't transfer this money to a fund, then what are the penal provisions? The penal provisions are, if a company is in default in complying with the provisions of subsection 5, okay, as I said already, so if the company is in default in complying with the provisions, as I said already, the company shall be liable to a penalty of twice the amount required to be transferred by the company. अगर 10 करोड़ ट्रांसफर करने चाहिए थे, 10 करोड़ ट्रांसफर नहीं किए, तो कंपनी will be liable for a penalty of 20 crores or the unspent corporate social responsibility account as the case may be, or 1 crore rupees, whichever is less. Every officer of the company who is in default shall also be liable to a penalty of 1/10 of the amount required to be transferred by the company to such fund in Schedule 7 or the unspent corporate social responsibility account, as the case may be, or 2 lakh rupees, whichever is less. So remember, so the penal provisions in case of non-compliance with subsection 5 and subsection 6 of section 135 are not only applicable to the companies, but they are also applicable to the officer concerned of the company. And therefore, it is absolutely necessary that the company and the officer concerned make sure that number 1, the amount is spent as required. If the amount is not spent, it is transferred to a bank account and then it is spent in next 3 years. And if it is not spent in next 3 years, then the amount is transferred to a fund as per the Schedule 7 of the Companies Act. If you don't do it, then you will have to face the penal provisions, and as I have just shared with you. Now, when constitution of the CSRC not applicable, so now the question is that is it that every company to which section 135 becomes applicable, does every such company have to form and constitute a CSRC? And the answer is no. And why the answer is no? That in case if the amount which is to be spent is less than 50 lakhs, so as per section 9, as per section subsection 9 of section 135, if the amount to be spent on the CSR is less than 50 lakhs, in that case, such a company need not constitute a separate CSRC. And the job of the CSRC in that case will be done by the board of director itself. So this may be because of keeping it simple. पर इसका मतलब समझ के लीजिए फ्रेंड, इसका मतलब क्या है? If 50 lakh is the amount, when the the amount to be spent is less than 50 lakhs, then such a company need not have the CSRC. इसका मतलब क्या है? If 50 lakhs is the amount and that means 2% is the net profit. इसका मतलब ये हो गया, if the average net profit of a company is 25 crore or less, or if the average net profit of a company are less than 25 crore as per section 198, in that case, such a company will not have to constitute the CSRC. But remember, friends, the concession is only with regard to formation of the CSRC. As far as all the obligations of Section 135 are concerned, they are very much applicable. They are very much applicable, and they will have to be absolutely taken care of. So, friends, with this, I come to the close of my presentation, my discussion on Section 135. I hope all of you would have found this discussion absolutely comprehensive, because I have really made an effort in covering everything as far as Section 135 is concerned. So I hope it is serving your purpose. I hope you are finding it useful. So thank you so much and wish you wonderful times always. And with this, I head it over back to Dr. Krishna. So Dr. Krishna, over to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing an interesting facts and figures regarding the corporate social responsibility, section 135 and section 198. For the sake of benefit of all the participants, I just would like to reiterate few of the things which has been covered by sir today. Sir has covered the meaning of corporate social responsibility, the obligations of the corporates under the section 135, how much company or companies are required to comply with the section 135, how much net profit is to be considered for determining the applicability of the section 135. Sir has also covered that how many members need to be there in a CSR committee. Sir has also covered what all obligations are there in terms of CSR committee, the obligations of board under the section 135, and the count of the profits that need to be spent every year on CSR activities, and the profits which need to be considered for this purpose. Also, the meaning, significance, and the rationale behind the computation of profit as per the section 198. Sir has also given us the clarity about various provisions of the section 198 in terms of computation of the net profit. Sir has also explained us where should one start from for the computation of net profit under the section 198. Sir has also explained in detail how the 2% profit can be spent in the schedule 7. Sir has also explained in detail how to treat unspent amount on the CSR activities. And last but not the least, Sir has also covered the penal provisions in case of non-compliance with the SS 5 and 6. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable inputs on this crucial topic. And with this, I take the leave of you and all the participants. And I hope that tomorrow we are going all to meet on the same time, that is 5 p.m. Thank you, sir. Thanks a ton.
Thank you. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.